Hello, my dear students. Again, today I came with a topic that is the volume of distribution. So, in the previous distribution slides, I have one this topic about the volume of distribution in a short uh, expression because in this volume of distribution is much more important and we have to be more elaborately describe about this topic, because if you are not much more concerned about this distribution of the drug within the volume of the different tissues that's present in our body, then you can't able to find out the relationship between the concentration of the plasma and with the concentration or the volume of the tissue with respect to drug amount. That means the how much drug we are actually consuming and how much can able to cross the barriers, different physiological barriers to be available in the tissue fluid or intravascular fluid. So that's why volume of distribution separately I came up with that, and we have to be learn a little bit of in depth in a smooth way so that we can understand what is actually the apparent volume of distribution and the true volume of distribution. It is so easy and very important. So let's start. So hope in the last upload of the video, the tutorial, we have gone through what is actually the volume of distribution, and we all know that the apparent volume of distribution is nothing but which doesn't have any true value. It is a hypothetical volume of body fluid into which a drug is dissolved or distributed. So it implies that apparent volume of distribution in real has no meaning, but to conduct different pharmacokinetic calculation and derivation, this apparent volume of distribution, or VD, which is being implied as a VD, is important. So it is also important to understand how much drug can able to penetrate the tissue at what extent and the relation with the blood concentration. So suppose think about, there is a presence of a container, as you can see in that video. Here is a container having a water, but in this case this is a container with the water which volume is unknown to us. We don't know what is the volume of the water that contained within this container. So we have taken a definite amount of drug as well as an instrument to determine the concentration of the solution. Suppose think that we have taken 100 mg of a definite amount of drug. So it is known to all that concentration is equal to nothing but the weight by volume. So what will be the volume? Volume is equal to weight by concentration. We are going to apply this fundamental equation to understand this volume of distribution method. So here we are concerning about apparent volume of distribution. So in case of true volume of distribution is nothing but which has actually a real physiological meaning, but it is not very easy to determine each time how much drug actually available in the true volume of the different organs, because our different organ having a different kind of perfusion rate of the blood and different kind of volume. So on the basis of that, true volume determination, it is not possible how much drug has penetrate and how much drug is available. But in case of apparent volume of distribution, through the determining the concentration of the plasma and by knowing the amount of the drug that we are administering or with the present in the body, it can able to determine the volume of distribution and the relation between how much drug is able to penetrate or make them available into the tissue. So suppose 1000 mg drug has been dissolved within the container and the concentration achieved is 50 mg per ml. So whenever we got the concentration that is 50 mg per ml, so we are now able to determine the volume of distribution. So it is nothing but the volume is equal to weight by concentration. The 100 mg we have taken earlier as a amount, as a definite amount of drug, and by the concentration it is nothing but 50 mg per ml. So in this case, whenever there is a 50 mg per ml, so the total distribution has come out as 20 liter. mg has been crossed out, so 20 liter is the volume of the distribution. So 20 liter is the volume of the distribution. So this will be the volume of the container for distribution of the drug within the container. Okay, so this will be the volume of the container. So now if you get a plasma concentration like 20 mg per ml and amount of drug administered is 1000 mg, in that case the volume will be 50 liter. So here we can see there is, whenever we got the concentration like 50 mg per ml, in that case volume of distribution is 20 liter. But in case of when you got 20 mg per ml the plasma concentration, which is decreasing actually, in that case we are getting a volume of distribution high, 50 liter. So increasing of plasma concentration has inversely proportional with the VD of a drug. I hope you can get this idea clearly, that whenever the drug will be remain within the blood, that means more amount of blood is going to be retained over there. It's not going to be entered into the tissue. That's why the volume for the distribution of the drug is decreasing. So in this way, that means more amount of drug is going to retain into the blood. They are not effectively entered into the tissue to show their activity. That means, so from the previous case we can learn that the concentration was 50 mg per ml and now the concentration is 20 mg per ml. That means decreasing of concentration but increasing of volume of distribution. So by decreasing the concentration, so this is known as apparent volume of distribution. There is a little bit of disturbing is going on, sorry for that. So we have to know, we have to be concerned about the topic. So higher volume of distribution, more decrease of concentration of drug. Decreasing in where? Decreasing in the blood. So as leaving the blood, enter into the various organ system. So in the opposite case also, lesser volume of distribution, that is implies is more amount of drug remain in the blood and not effectively enter into the organs. That means whenever the more amount of drug will be retained in the blood, that means maybe bioavailability is fine, but it's not showing any therapeutic activity, which is not our goal. So in this way, by determining the concentration, and that's why there is a relationship between X proportional to C, that is the concentration of drug in the plasma and the amount of drug in the body. So in this way, this relationship is seen between amount of drug and concentration of drug in the plasma. So varying concentration of drugs reaches different organs and tissues of the body. So the process of distribution is considered to be complete at distribution equilibrium. So at this stage, different tissues and organs contain varying concentration of drug that can be determined by the volume of tissues in which the drug is present. So different body tissues and organs have different concentrations of drug. So the physiological meaning of volume of distribution is not clear, but a constant relationship is seen between this amount of drug and plasma concentration. So this is the actually the basic thing of volume of distribution, and which will be more essential to understand the plasma protein binding, which I will come up with the next video. So in case of the plasma protein also, I am trying to say a little bit of it, that it's when the proteins are going to be bind with the drugs, that is also protein act as a blood components present in the bloodstream. They actually restrict the entry of the drugs, and different drugs have their different affinity to bind with different proteins and also certain tissues. So sometimes it's occur as like an accumulation of large fractions of drug in such tissue or within the blood cell, within the blood stream, and also showing subsequently toxic effects also sometimes. So plasma protein drug binding also favor uniform distribution of drug throughout the body by its buffer functioning. We will come on next stage about this, but we have to know another thing is then that a tissue or blood component that has great affinity for a particular drug acts as a depot or storage site of the drug. So Sometimes whenever the drugs are going to bind with the protein, they will distribute it throughout the body, but due to this complex formation, sometimes it acts as like a longer duration of action of the drug, because the detachment will take time and the drug will become free, and then it can able to cross the barrier of the capillary endothelium, then into the extracellular fluid, then into the intercellular fluid. So in this way, sometimes this binding of drug with the protein, it's also act as a longer duration of the action of the drug, and also it's also increases the half-life of the drug sometimes. And we know what is the half-life of the drug, the half of the amount of the drug, what is the time is required by the drug for excreted from the body, the half of amount of the drug, that is the half-life of the drug. So this is the volume of distribution. So in short, if we can say that if there is a higher volume of distribution, that means more of the drugs are entered into the blood. That's why it is saying increase of plasma concentration has inversely proportional with VD. That means if VD is increasing, plasma concentration is decreasing, and which is favorable for us. That means it implies that more of the drugs are going to enter. And if the plasma concentration is increasing, VD will be decreased. That means more and more drug are going to be retained in the blood, which is not fruitful. Thank you for your patience, your listening, and if you like, please like this video, and all the best.